You're standing in the middle of a chaotic day, traffic is a mess, deadlines are piling up, and nothing seems to be going your way. Yet, somehow, you stay calm. You don't lash out, you don't spiral into panic. Instead, you take a deep breath, focus on what you can control, and move forward. Sound familiar? What you might not realize is that this moment of quiet resilience isn't just good stress management, it's Stoicism in action. As Marcus Aurelius once wrote, "You have power over your mind, not outside events. Realize this, and you will find strength." Stoicism isn't just some dusty philosophy from ancient Rome. It's a practical, timeless way of living that many of us already practice without even knowing it. Today, we're going to uncover 20 subtle signs that reveal how Stoic principles might already be shaping your daily life. From how you handle setbacks to the way you approach your goals, you might be more Stoic than you think. So, let's explore these hidden habits and see if any of them resonate with you. By the end of this, you might just discover that Stoicism isn't just a philosophy, it's a part of who you are. Stoicism teaches us to distinguish between what we can and cannot control, a principle known as the Dichotomy of Control. At its core, this idea is about recognizing that much of life is shaped by forces beyond our reach, but how we respond to those forces is entirely within our power. Think about it, you can't control the weather, other people's actions, or even the traffic on your morning commute. What you can control, however, is your reaction to these situations. This simple yet profound shift in perspective is one of the cornerstones of Stoic philosophy, and it's a powerful tool for reducing anxiety and frustration in everyday life. Epictetus, one of Stoicism's most influential thinkers, put it this way: "Some things are within our power while others are not. Within our power are opinion, motivation, desire, aversion, and in a word, whatever is of our own doing." In other words, our thoughts, choices, and attitudes are ours to command, even when the world around us feels chaotic. Imagine you're stuck in a traffic jam. You can't magically clear the road or make the cars ahead move faster, but you can choose how you respond. Do you let frustration take over, or do you take a deep breath, turn on some music, and use the time to reflect? That choice, your internal response, is where your power lies. This isn't just about traffic jams, though. The dichotomy of control applies to nearly every aspect of life. When you focus on what you can control, your effort, your mindset, your actions, you stop wasting energy on things you can't change. Over time, this practice can lead to a calmer, more centered way of living. So, here's a question to reflect on. How often do you find yourself stressing over things that are outside your control? And what would happen if you shifted your focus to what you can influence instead? Do you find yourself appreciating the small things in life, even the ones that seem insignificant? If so, you might be practicing Stoicism without even realizing it. One of the cornerstones of Stoic philosophy is gratitude, not just for the big wins or grand moments, but for the everyday blessings we often overlook. The Stoics believed that gratitude was a direct path to contentment, a way to shift our focus from what we lack to what we already have. Take Seneca, one of the most influential Stoic philosophers. He wrote extensively about the power of gratitude, urging people to reflect on the good in their lives rather than dwelling on what they don't have. He once said, "True happiness is to enjoy the present without anxious dependence upon the future." In other words, gratitude helps us anchor ourselves in the here and now, finding peace in the present moment. Modern practices like keeping a gratitude journal or taking a moment each day to reflect on what we're thankful for echo these ancient Stoic teachings. Think about it. When was the last time you paused to appreciate something simple, like a quiet morning with your coffee, a kind word from a friend, or the warmth of sunlight on your face? These moments, small as they may seem, are opportunities to practice Stoic gratitude. Here's a challenge for you. What are 3 things you're grateful for today? It doesn't have to be anything monumental. Maybe it's the way your dog greets you at the door, the smell of fresh rain, or even the fact that you made it through a tough day. By taking just a moment to acknowledge these things, you're not only practicing gratitude, you're tapping into a Stoic mindset that helps you find joy in the ordinary. Stoics have a unique way of looking at life's hurdles. They see them not as setbacks but as stepping stones. This mindset is rooted in the ancient Stoic principle of amor fati, which translates to love of fate. It's about embracing everything that happens to you, whether good or bad, as an essential part of your journey. Marcus Aurelius, one of history's most famous Stoics, put it perfectly when he said, "The impediment to action advances action. What stands in the way becomes the way." In other words, every challenge you face is an opportunity to grow stronger, wiser, and more resilient. Let's bring this into the modern world. Imagine you've just lost your job. At first, it feels like a crushing blow, but what if you chose to see it as a chance to pivot towards something you're truly passionate about? Maybe it's the push you needed to start that business you've always dreamed of, or to explore a completely new career path. Stoicism teaches us to shift our perspective, to look for the hidden potential in every situation. So, what about you? What's a challenge you're facing right now? Could it be an opportunity in disguise? Maybe it's a chance to develop patience, to build courage, or to discover a strength you didn't know you had. The next time life throws a curveball your way, try asking yourself, how can I use this to move forward? How can I turn this obstacle into my advantage? It's not about denying the difficulty, it's about finding the gift within it. Have you ever noticed how often your mind drifts to what's next or what's already happened? Maybe you're sitting at dinner, but instead of savoring the flavors, you're mentally drafting tomorrow's to-do list or replaying a conversation from yesterday. If you find yourself naturally staying present, fully immersed in the here and now, you might be practicing Stoicism without even realizing it. The Stoics placed immense value on mindfulness, on being fully engaged in the present moment. They believed that dwelling on the past or fretting about the future only steals the joy and clarity that the present moment offers. Epictetus, one of the great Stoic philosophers, put it this way: concentrate every minute like a Roman, like a man, on doing what's in front of you with precise and genuine seriousness, tenderly, willingly, with justice. This isn't just about productivity, it's about living fully. It's about sitting down to a meal and actually tasting the food, feeling the texture, and appreciating the effort that went into it. It's about having a conversation without your mind wandering to what you'll say next or what you should have said earlier. It's about being here right now without the noise of regrets or anxieties. Think about the last time you truly lived in the moment. Was it during a walk in nature where you noticed the rustle of leaves or the warmth of the sun? Or maybe it was during a quiet moment at home, simply sitting with your thoughts, undistracted by screens or schedules. These moments of presence aren't just fleeting joys, they're a reflection of Stoic principles in action. By staying present, you're not only practicing mindfulness, but you're also reclaiming control over your attention and, ultimately, your peace of mind. So, the next time you catch yourself drifting into the past or future, gently bring yourself back to the present. Notice what's around you, what you're doing, and how it feels. Because, in the words of Marcus Aurelius, the present is all that they can give up, since that is all you have, and what you do not have, you cannot lose. Have you ever noticed how some people seem to handle life's frustrations with calm, while others spiral into endless complaints? Stoics believe complaining is a waste of energy, a distraction from what truly matters. Instead of focusing on what's outside your control, Stoicism teaches you to channel that energy into action. As Seneca once said, we suffer more often in imagination than in reality. When you complain, you're amplifying the problem in your mind, making it feel larger than it actually is. But what if you redirected that energy toward finding solutions or accepting what you can't change? Take a modern example. Imagine you're stuck at the airport because your flight is delayed. Instead of venting your frustration at the gate agent or drowning in self-pity, you could use that time to read, catch up on work, or simply reflect on the situation. Complaining won't make the plane arrive any faster, but choosing how you respond can transform the experience. Stoicism isn't about suppressing emotions, it's about recognizing when those emotions are unproductive and choosing a better path. So ask yourself this: what do you gain by complaining, and what could you do instead? When you shift your focus from what's wrong to what's within your control, you're not just practicing Stoicism, you're reclaiming your power. And that's a sign you might already be living by these principles without even realizing it. Do you find yourself valuing inner peace over external achievements? If so, you might be practicing Stoicism without even realizing it. The Stoics placed immense importance on cultivating inner tranquility and virtue, believing that true success isn't measured by wealth, status, or accolades, but by the state of your mind and character. As Marcus Aurelius once wrote, "You have power over your mind, not outside events. Realize this, and you will find strength." This idea is at the heart of Stoic philosophy, the belief that our greatest strength lies in mastering our internal world, not in chasing external validation. Take a moment to think about your own life. Have you ever turned down a high-pressure job or a flashy opportunity because it didn't align with your sense of peace? Maybe you've chosen a simpler, more meaningful path over the relentless pursuit of material wealth. These decisions reflect a Stoic mindset, one that values inner calm and personal integrity over external markers of success. For the Stoics, true achievement wasn't about accumulating possessions or climbing the social ladder. It was about living in harmony with your values and maintaining a steady, unshakable sense of self. So, what does true success mean to you? Is it the quiet satisfaction of knowing you've acted with integrity, or the freedom that comes from not being enslaved by society's expectations? The Stoics would argue that the path to fulfillment begins within, and that by focusing on what we can control, our thoughts, actions, and reactions, we can build a life of genuine contentment. This doesn't mean rejecting ambition or progress. It simply means recognizing that the most meaningful victories are the ones that bring us closer to our best selves. Have you ever found yourself lying in bed at night, replaying the events of your day in your mind? Maybe you're thinking about that conversation that didn't go as planned, or perhaps you're replaying a moment where you felt proud of how you handled a tough situation. If this sounds familiar, you might already be practicing a core Stoic principle without even realizing it. The Stoics believed in the power of reflection specifically, taking time at the end of each day to review your actions, decisions, and emotions. This practice, known as evening reflection, isn't just about rehashing what happened, it's about learning from it. Seneca, one of the most influential Stoic philosophers, put it this way: "When the light has been removed and my wife has fallen silent, aware of this habit that's now mine, I examine my entire day and go back over what I've done and said." Imagine that, a 2,000-year-old habit that's still just as relevant today. The goal isn't to beat yourself up over mistakes or pat yourself on the back for every success. It's about gaining clarity. What did you do well? Where could you improve? How did your choices align with your values? This kind of honest self-examination helps you grow one day at a time. In today's world, this practice might look like journaling before bed. Instead of scrolling through your phone or binge watching a show, you take a few minutes to write down your thoughts. Maybe you jot down what went right, what went wrong, and what you'd like to do differently tomorrow. It's not about perfection, it's about progress, and the beauty of this practice is that it doesn't require any special tools or training. All it takes is a willingness to look inward and ask yourself, what lessons can I take from today? So the next time you catch yourself reflecting on your day, know that you're tapping into a timeless Stoic tradition. It's not just about thinking, it's about learning, growing, and becoming more intentional with how you live. And who knows, those quiet moments of reflection might just be the key to building a life that feels more aligned, more meaningful, and more truly your own. Stoics remind us that nothing lasts forever. This might sound like a heavy thought, but it's actually one of the most liberating truths we can embrace. At the heart of Stoicism is the concept of Memento Mori, a Latin phrase meaning "remember you must die." It's not about being morbid or dwelling on the end, but rather about using the awareness of life's impermanence to live with greater purpose and gratitude. Marcus Aurelius, one of the most famous Stoic philosophers, once wrote, "You could leave life right now. Let that determine what you do and say and think." It's a powerful reminder that time is fleeting and every moment is a gift. Think about it. When you truly internalize that nothing lasts forever, it changes how you approach life. Suddenly, that argument with a friend feels less significant. You're more likely to savor the little moments like a quiet morning with a cup of coffee or the sound of laughter with your family. Stoicism teaches us to cherish what we have while we have it, not out of fear of losing it, but out of deep appreciation for the present. Here's a simple example. Imagine you're spending time with someone you love. Instead of getting caught up in distractions or worrying about tomorrow, you're fully there, soaking in the moment. That's Stoicism in action. It's about recognizing the impermanence of life and letting that awareness guide you to live with more intention and joy. So, here's a question to reflect on. How does knowing life is temporary change your perspective? Does it make you want to hold on tighter, or does it inspire you to let go of what doesn't matter and focus on what truly does? The Stoics believed that embracing impermanence wasn't just a philosophical exercise. It was a way to live a richer, more meaningful life, and who wouldn't want that? Do you often resist temptations to stay focused on your goals? If so, you might already be practicing Stoicism without even realizing it. The Stoics placed immense value on self-discipline, seeing it as a cornerstone of living a virtuous life. They believed that true freedom comes not from indulging every impulse but from mastering our desires and aligning our actions with reason. As Epictetus once said, "No man is free who is not master of himself." This idea isn't about denying yourself pleasure. It's about choosing what truly serves your long-term well-being over fleeting distractions. Take procrastination, for example. When you push through the urge to scroll social media and instead focus on finishing that important task, you're exercising Stoic self-discipline. You're prioritizing what matters over what feels easy in the moment. It's not about perfection, it's about progress, about making small, consistent choices that align with your values and goals. This kind of self-control isn't just practical, it's deeply empowering. It transforms you from someone who reacts to impulses into someone who acts with intention. So, where in your life could a little more self-discipline make a difference? Maybe it's in your work, your health, or even the way you manage your emotions. The Stoics remind us that every moment offers an opportunity to practice restraint and focus, to choose the path of virtue over convenience. What's one area where you could start today? Do you find yourself rolling with the punches when life throws you a curveball? If so, you might be practicing Stoicism without even realizing it. One of the clearest signs is this: you don't fear change. Stoics see change not as something to dread, but as an inevitable and natural part of existence. Think about it: seasons shift, relationships evolve, careers take unexpected turns. Life is constantly in motion, and Stoicism teaches us to embrace that flow rather than resist it. Seneca, one of the great Stoic philosophers, once said, "Change is not only necessary to life, it is life." This perspective encourages us to accept the unpredictability of the world around us. Instead of clinging to what's familiar, Stoics focus on what they can control, their own mindset and responses. For example, imagine having to move to a new city for work or family reasons. While it's natural to feel a bit unsettled, a Stoic approach would be to view it as an opportunity for growth, learning, and new experiences. So how do you typically respond to change? Do you find yourself anxious or resistant, or do you adapt with ease? If it's the former, consider how you might shift your perspective. What's one small step you could take to become more comfortable with life's uncertainties? Remember, change isn't the enemy, it's the very fabric of life. And by learning to embrace it, you're not just surviving, you're thriving in the Stoic way. Here's the next section of the script following your outline and guidelines. Stoics believe gossip distracts from personal growth, and they're not wrong. Think about it. When you're caught up in talking about others, you're not focusing on what truly matters, your own character and actions. The Stoic philosophy emphasizes self-mastery, and that starts with directing your energy inward rather than outward. Marcus Aurelius, one of the most famous Stoic thinkers, put it bluntly when he said, "When you wake up in the morning, tell yourself, the people I deal with today will be meddling, ungrateful, arrogant, dishonest, jealous, and surly." But here's the kicker. He didn't say, "Go out and talk about them." Instead, he reminded himself to focus on his own virtues like kindness and integrity, no matter how others behave. Now let's bring this into the modern world. Imagine you're at work and someone starts venting about a coworker's mistakes or personal life. It's tempting to join in, right? But what if, instead of diving into the drama, you chose to stay silent or even redirect the conversation? Not only does this protect your peace of mind, but it also frees up mental space for more productive pursuits like improving your skills or working on your goals. So here's a question to consider. How can you redirect your energy from gossip to self-improvement? Maybe it's by setting a daily intention to avoid negative conversations, or perhaps it's by using that time to reflect on your own actions and how you can grow. The choice is yours, but remember, every moment spent on gossip is a moment taken away from becoming the best version of yourself. This section maintains a conversational yet authoritative tone, introduces a historical figure with relevance, and ties the ancient wisdom to a modern, relatable scenario. It also ends with a reflective prompt to engage the audience without feeling repetitive or forced. Do you often find yourself feeling deeply content with less? If so, you might be practicing Stoicism without even realizing it. Stoicism teaches us that true happiness doesn't come from accumulating more possessions or chasing endless desires. It comes from embracing simplicity. As the Stoic philosopher Epictetus once said, "Wealth consists not in having great possessions, but in having few wants." This idea of minimalism isn't about deprivation, it's about freedom. Freedom from the constant need for more, freedom from the stress of maintaining excess, and freedom to focus on what truly matters. Think about the last time you felt truly at peace. Was it while scrolling through endless options online, or was it during something as simple as a quiet walk in nature? Stoics believed that joy could be found in the ordinary moments, the sound of birdsong, the warmth of sunlight, or the feeling of a cool breeze. These experiences don't cost a thing, yet they can fill us with a profound sense of gratitude and fulfillment. This principle of simplicity extends beyond material things. It's about decluttering not just your physical space, but your mind and schedule too. When you strip away the non-essentials, you create room for what truly nourishes your soul. Maybe it's a morning coffee enjoyed in silence, an evening spent with a good book, or the laughter shared with a loved one over a simple meal. These moments remind us that life's greatest joys often come without a price tag. So, what simple pleasures bring you the most joy? Take a moment to reflect on the small, everyday experiences that make you feel alive. By recognizing and savoring these moments, you're already aligning with a key Stoic practice, finding contentment in what you already have. And in doing so, you're not just living simply, you're living fully. Stoics see criticism as an opportunity to grow, not as a personal attack, but as a mirror reflecting areas where they can improve. This mindset is rooted in humility and self-awareness, two pillars of Stoic philosophy. Seneca once wrote, "If anyone tells you that a certain person speaks ill of you, do not make excuses about what is said, but answer, 'He was ignorant of my other faults, else he would not have mentioned these alone.'" In other words, criticism is a gift. It offers a chance to see ourselves more clearly and to grow stronger in the process. Think about a tough performance review at work. Instead of reacting defensively or spiraling into self-doubt, a Stoic would pause, reflect, and ask, "What can I learn from this?" They'd focus on the actionable feedback, not the sting of the moment. By separating their emotions from the critique, they can approach it with clarity and purpose. It's not about ignoring the discomfort, it's about using it as fuel for self-improvement. So, how do you typically respond to criticism? Do you find yourself shutting down, lashing out, or dwelling on it long after the moment has passed? What if instead you could see it as a tool for growth? Imagine the possibilities if you could approach feedback with the calm, curious mindset of a Stoic. It's not easy, but it's a skill worth mastering, one that can transform the way you navigate challenges in every area of your life. Here's a draft for the next section based on your outline. Have you ever noticed how some people seem to draw their confidence from within, rather than depending on what others think of them? If that sounds familiar, you might already be practicing a key Stoic principle without even realizing it. Stoicism teaches us to find our worth internally, not through the approval or validation of others. This idea is central to living a life of freedom and resilience. Marcus Aurelius, one of history's most famous Stoics, put it this way: "It never ceases to amaze me. We all love ourselves more than other people, but care more about their opinion than our own." Think about that for a moment. How often do we let someone else's judgment shape our decisions, our goals, or even our self-esteem? Imagine this scenario. You're passionate about a creative project. Maybe it's writing, painting, or even starting a small business. But when you share your ideas with others, you're met with skepticism or criticism. Do you let their doubts derail you, or do you trust your own judgment and keep moving forward? Stoicism encourages us to choose the latter. It's not about ignoring feedback entirely, but rather about not letting it define your sense of worth. After all, your value isn't determined by someone else's opinion. It's rooted in your own actions, intentions, and integrity. So, here's a question to reflect on. How much of your happiness or confidence relies on others' approval? Do you feel the need to constantly seek validation, or have you started to find peace in trusting your own path? This shift towards self-reliance is a hallmark of Stoic thinking, and if you're already leaning in that direction, you're closer to living like a Stoic than you might think. This section introduces the idea of self-worth and external validation with a relatable observation, uses a Marcus Aurelius quote to ground it in Stoic philosophy, and provides a clear example to make the concept tangible. It ends with a reflective question to engage viewers, keeping the tone conversational and inviting. Do you often find yourself trying to step into someone else's shoes to truly understand where they're coming from? If so, you might be practicing Stoicism without even realizing it. Stoicism isn't just about personal resilience or self-control. It's deeply rooted in the idea of empathy and compassion for others. The Stoics believed that we're all part of a shared human experience, and that understanding this interconnectedness is key to living a meaningful life. Take Seneca, for example, one of the great Stoic philosophers. He once wrote, "We are members of one great body. Nature has planted in us a mutual love and made us for one another." This idea reminds us that kindness and understanding aren't just nice to haves, they're essential to our humanity. When we practice empathy, we're not just helping others, we're strengthening the bonds that connect us all. Think about a time when you faced a disagreement or conflict. Did you pause to consider the other person's feelings or perspective? Maybe you had a tough conversation with a coworker or a misunderstanding with a friend. Instead of reacting with anger or frustration, you took a moment to listen, to empathize, and to find common ground. That's Stoicism in action. It's about recognizing that everyone is fighting their own battles and choosing to respond with compassion rather than judgment. So, how can you bring more of this into your daily life? Start small. The next time someone cuts you off in traffic or says something you disagree with, take a breath. Instead of reacting, try to understand what might be driving their behavior. Compassion doesn't mean you have to agree with everyone. It simply means choosing to see the humanity in others, even when it's hard. After all, isn't that the kind of world we all want to live in? Here's the next section of the script following your outlined segment and guidelines. Stoics have a powerful stance on anger. Holding on to it doesn't punish the person who wronged you, it only poisons your own peace. Think about it. When you cling to a grudge, who feels the weight of that resentment? It's not the other person, it's you. The Stoics believe that forgiveness isn't about excusing someone's behavior. It's about freeing yourself from the emotional burden of anger. As Epictetus once said, "To be wronged is nothing unless you continue to remember it." In other words, the act of holding onto resentment keeps the wound open, while letting go allows you to heal. Imagine this: you've had a falling out with a close friend. Maybe they said something hurtful, or they let you down when you needed them most. The emotions are raw, and it's tempting to let that anger fester. But what if, instead of dwelling on the hurt, you chose to release it? What if you approached the situation with the understanding that people are flawed, including yourself, and that forgiveness is a gift you give to yourself, not just to them? Releasing that grudge doesn't mean you have to forget what happened. It means you're choosing to prioritize your own peace over the pain of the past. So, here's a question for you. Is there a grudge you've been carrying? Maybe it's something small, like a coworker's careless comment, or something bigger, like a betrayal from someone you trusted. Whatever it is, ask yourself, is holding onto this resentment serving you, or is it holding you back? Stoicism teaches us that forgiveness is a practice, not a one-time event. It's about choosing again and again to let go of what no longer serves you. And in doing so, you reclaim your energy, your focus, and your peace of mind. Do you ever find yourself choosing what's right over what's easy, even when it's inconvenient or uncomfortable? This might be a subtle sign that you're practicing Stoicism without even realizing it. The Stoics placed immense value on moral integrity, teaching that true fulfillment comes from living virtuously rather than chasing fleeting pleasures. As Marcus Aurelius once wrote, "Waste no more time arguing what a good man should be one." It's a powerful reminder that virtue isn't something you debate, it's something you embody through your actions. Think about it. Have you ever stood up for a principle, even when it cost you something? Maybe you chose honesty over a white lie, or you defended someone who couldn't defend themselves, even if it meant facing backlash. These moments where you prioritize virtue over comfort are deeply Stoic. The Stoics believed that virtue defined by qualities like wisdom, courage, justice, and self-discipline was the highest good. Everything else, from wealth to pleasure, was considered indifferent, not necessarily bad, but not essential to a meaningful life. In today's world, this might look like choosing to speak up in a meeting when you see something unethical, even if it risks your reputation. Or it could mean turning down an opportunity that conflicts with your values, even if it promises short-term gain. These decisions might feel small, but they're the building blocks of a virtuous life. So, how do you define virtue in your own life? Is it about honesty, fairness, resilience, or something else entirely? The Stoics would argue that reflecting on this question is the first step toward living with purpose. Have you ever found yourself in the middle of a chaotic situation, maybe a last-minute deadline, a heated argument, or even a full-blown crisis at work, and noticed something surprising? Despite the chaos swirling around you, you stayed calm, not because you didn't care, but because you instinctively knew that losing your cool wouldn't help. If this sounds familiar, you might already be practicing a core Stoic principle without even realizing it, maintaining equanimity under pressure. The Stoics believed that life's challenges aren't what upset us, it's our reactions to them. Seneca, one of the great Stoic philosophers, put it this way: we suffer more often in imagination than in reality. In other words, much of the stress we feel comes from how we interpret and respond to events, not the events themselves. Staying calm in tough situations isn't about ignoring your emotions, it's about choosing not to let them control you. It's about recognizing that while you can't always control what happens, you can control how you respond. Think about a time when everything seemed to be falling apart. Maybe a project at work went off the rails, or a personal conflict escalated unexpectedly. Instead of panicking or lashing out, you took a deep breath, assessed the situation, and focused on what you could actually do to fix it. That's Stoicism in action. It's not about being emotionless, it's about being intentional. It's about asking yourself, what's within my control here? And then directing your energy toward that, rather than wasting it on frustration or worry. Here's a question to consider. How do you typically react under pressure? Do you find yourself overwhelmed, or do you manage to keep a steady head? If staying calm doesn't come naturally to you, don't worry. Like any skill, it's something you can develop. Start small. The next time you're faced with a stressful situation, pause for a moment, take a deep breath. Remind yourself that while you can't control everything, you can control your response. Over time, this simple practice can help you build the kind of resilience and composure that the Stoics valued so deeply. Stoics remind us that time is our most precious resource, and if you find yourself constantly reflecting on how you use it, you might already be practicing Stoicism without even realizing it. The Stoic philosophers placed immense importance on time, viewing it as the one thing we can never get back once it's gone. Marcus Aurelius, one of the most famous Stoic thinkers, once wrote, "You could leave life right now." Let that determine what you do and say and think. This isn't meant to sound grim, it's a call to action, a reminder to live with intention and purpose. Think about it. Every moment you spend worrying about things outside your control, scrolling aimlessly, or putting off what truly matters is time you'll never reclaim. Stoicism teaches us to focus on what's within our power, our choices, our actions, and how we choose to spend our days. For example, instead of filling your schedule with endless distractions, you might find yourself gravitating toward activities that align with your deeper values, like spending quality time with loved ones, pursuing a passion, or contributing to something meaningful. This isn't about being productive every second of the day. It's about being intentional. It's about asking yourself, is this how I want to spend my limited time? If you've ever felt a quiet urgency to make the most of your days, or if you've caught yourself stepping away from trivial pursuits to focus on what truly matters, you're embodying a key Stoic principle. So take a moment to reflect. How are you spending your time, and is it aligned with your values? The answer might reveal more about your inner Stoic than you realize. Do you ever find yourself craving more than just information, something deeper, something that feels like true understanding? If so, you might be unknowingly practicing Stoicism. The Stoics believed that wisdom, not just knowledge, is the key to living a meaningful life. Knowledge is about facts, data, and information, but wisdom is about how we apply that knowledge to make better decisions, cultivate virtue, and navigate life's challenges with clarity. As Seneca once said, "As long as you live, keep learning how to live." This idea of lifelong learning isn't about memorizing endless facts. It's about seeking insights that transform how we think, act, and relate to the world around us. For example, instead of just reading a book to check it off a list, you might find yourself reflecting on its lessons, asking how they apply to your life, or even journaling about what you've learned. That's the Stoic pursuit of wisdom in action. Think about it. When was the last time you chose to dive into a philosophy book, listen to a thought-provoking podcast, or have a deep conversation with someone who challenges your perspective? These are all modern ways of seeking wisdom, and they align perfectly with Stoic principles. It's not about accumulating more information, it's about finding meaning and understanding in what you already know. So, what steps can you take to seek wisdom in your daily life? It could be as simple as setting aside 10 minutes each day to reflect on your experiences, or perhaps starting a journal to capture your thoughts and insights. Maybe it's about engaging in conversations that push you to think differently or exploring new ideas that resonate with your values. The key is to approach life with curiosity and an open mind, always striving to grow not just in knowledge but in wisdom. Because at the end of the day, wisdom is what allows us to live with purpose, resilience, and a deeper sense of fulfillment. As we wrap up this exploration, let's take a moment to reflect on the 20 signs that might reveal you're already practicing Stoicism without even realizing it. From finding calm in chaos to focusing on what's within your control, these behaviors aren't just random habits, they're deeply rooted in Stoic principles. They show how this ancient philosophy isn't some distant, abstract idea, but a practical, actionable way of living that's as relevant today as it was 2,000 years ago. Think about it when you pause before reacting to a stressful situation, or when you remind yourself that some things are simply beyond your power. You're tapping into the wisdom of Stoic thinkers like Marcus Aurelius, Seneca, and Epictetus. These signs aren't just about what you do, they're about how you think. They reveal a mindset that values clarity, resilience, and self-awareness above all else. Epictetus once said, "First say to yourself what you would be, and then do what you have to do." This quote captures the essence of Stoicism. It's about aligning your actions with your values, about becoming the person you want to be through deliberate practice. And that's what these 20 signs are pointing to, a life lived intentionally with purpose and perspective. So, which of these signs resonate most with you? Are there moments in your daily life where you've noticed yourself thinking or acting in ways that align with Stoic principles? Take a moment to reflect on that. And if you're curious about how to take it further, remember that Stoicism isn't about perfection, it's about progress. It's about small, consistent steps toward becoming more grounded, more resilient, and more at peace with the world around you. If this journey into Stoicism has sparked something in you, I'd love to hear your thoughts. Drop a comment below and let me know which of these signs stood out to you or how Stoic practices have shown up in your life. And if you're ready to dive deeper, don't forget to subscribe and join me as we continue exploring the timeless wisdom of Stoicism. Together, we can uncover how this philosophy can help us navigate the challenges of modern life with grace and strength. Thank you for watching, and I'll see you in the next video.